Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar this morning. Oh, that's great. I can see you all beginning to come in. My name is Faina Stoney. I'm not Cathal Divley, so I'll be joining you today as part of the webinar this morning. Oh yeah, look, lots of people coming in now. That's fantastic to see you all. So I'm saying hello from Mayo this morning. I was about to tell you that the rain was back, but the sun has literally come back in the last 5 minutes. So delighted to see it again. If you guys can all hear me and see me, you might pop onto the chat and let us know that you can, and that it's all working for you, and maybe give us an update about the weather from where you guys are. It'd be great to know what's going on with all of you. So I'm joined this morning by my colleague Brian Sutton, who's our client relationship manager, and I know lots of you will have known him from interactions already. So we'll be tic-tacking across the webinar this morning. Oh, brilliant. Morning, Caroline. Okay, yeah, it's Baltic in Kilkenny. I'm glad to hear it's cold with you guys too. Hi, Kelly. It's sunny in Dublin. Lou, sunny in Dublin. Okay, well, I promise we'll try and take the sting out of the bad weather coming across now here in Mayo. So hopefully we can keep the blue skies in the rest of the country. So yeah, thrilled to have you all on this morning's webinar. We hope to do this as interactive as possible. So like keep the chat coming, keep the questions coming. Very much here to answer your questions this morning. And we'll have a couple of polls later on that kind of piece. So, but really intrigued to hear all about your questions and how we can support you from a Great Place to Work perspective. It's been a busy couple of weeks for us here in Great Place to Work, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a scene set around that, some of the client piece, and then I'm going to hand over to Brian to take you through key reasons for investment and how we can support you through the Great Place to Work process. Okay, it's bright and fresh in New Ross. Great, Margaret. Delighted to hear that. And it's lovely in Wicklow. Okay, so it seems like we've got some pretty common good weather across the place this morning. So a lot of you probably would have seen that a couple of weeks ago we announced Ireland's best workplaces. So we would have had our award ceremony on the 26th of February. And then the following day, we announced across all of our online platforms, but also through a special report in the Irish Times. For anybody who's interested in seeing more about those best workplaces and actually hearing from them themselves, there's a QR code on the screen. Marina is busy in the background making sure you've got all your links as well. So I know she just popped the link into the chat. So do feel free to download that and hear more from this year's most trusted leader, Michael Stanley from Cairn Homes, our special award winners, and also leaders and HR professionals from across a range of industries talking into things that have the biggest impact on them at the moment and looking across the year ahead. So it's really great to be able to hear directly from the organizations themselves. And who might you see as part of that, or is kind of doing some of the activity? So I just wanted to give you a really quick cross-sectional look at some of our great workplaces, right the way from this year's winner of our Super Large, who is Allianz Ireland, through to some of our smaller organisations. And what I really wanted to kind of get across to you here is a couple of things. First, the kind of breadth of industry that we do work with. There's no organisation too complex, too big, too small. We take it from the smaller heads right the way up to the tens of thousands, and have lots of experience working in the vast variety in there. But you'll also see here, there are some organisations who've been with us for in excess of 10 years, and then some who were brand new this year and would have achieved best workplace status. So kind of a broad range there. And like one in particular, just to give you a quick sample of, so top right there, ORS. So ORS, this is their 7th year in the process with us. And when they first joined, they would have been a small organisation of around 20 people. And we've worked with them over time as they've built their own headcount. And in the last couple of years in particular, the Great Place to Work process provided them a framework which has allowed them to support their acquisition strategy as they've taken on some new businesses and being able to bring that cultural framework with them. So yeah, kind of a range of different ones there, and just to give you kind of a flavour of that. And what better than to hear it from the horse's mouth? So anybody who would like to join our webinar alongside Robert Hanley of Allianz to hear about their approach to people and culture and how it links in with the overall strategic objectives of the business, you're welcome to join us on the 27th of March. That will be in conversation with our own CEO, Cathal Divley, and really getting in underneath their people approach and why the Great Place to Work process is a central pillar of that. So I know Marina's also popped the link in the chat. The QR code is there. So whichever way is best for you, do feel free to join us as part of that as well. Now, while we don't have a webinar this morning with a client on it. Sorry, we won't have a client here this morning. We do have some client perspective. And I suppose while I'm taking you through the Esri Ireland journey, I'm going to ask Marina to pop up our couple of polls for this morning because we're really intrigued to see why you guys are here as well. So you should see those popping up for you now about whether or not you think you're part of a great culture already, and what is it you're interested in the program. What are the things that really tick your boxes around what it is that you think we could support you on. Esri Ireland, again, have been with us for a number of years. And one of the things that we find really impressive from their approach is how well it's been strategically embedded into the organisation. They use Great Place to Work as a metric around their vision, their mission, and their company values. And you can see there in Joanne's own words a barometer for how we're doing and a framework for how we continue to invest in our people and our business. So very much the two things happening in concert together. I'd also really encourage anybody who wants to see some really excellent employer branding approach, do check out Esri Ireland online. Very good at bringing the employee voice to the fore and bringing the Great Place to Work data to life. So having made that investment in time and that kind of piece, how do they tell that story and what does that look like? Okay, so we've wrapped up our poll. Shippers, you all think you're part of a great place to work. Brian, it'll be straight on to you now to get everybody sorted and signed up. And then a range of different things that people are interested in. So the certification, the employee survey, and then a bit around the talent attraction and retention, the employer branding piece as well. It's kind of an interesting spread of what people are interested about this morning. So I suppose on that, Brian, I'm going to hand over to you and ask you, why is it that organisations engage in the programme in the first place?
Thanks, Fania. Appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. Great to be here. And yeah, we were just thinking about this in terms of the programme and why organisations actually engage with us. Of course, organisations will come to us and say, look, Brian, we want to be certified because of the strength of that. Towards their employer brand. But behind that, for a lot of organizations, there's a range of reasons why organizations would actually engage with us. A top one, I would say, is really higher employee engagement. So all around your talent within your organization, and holding on to the best people that you have and making sure that they're aligned to the organization and to the vision and the mission. And really keeping those people within the organization. So in the talent space for us around retention first and keeping those high performing people. For every business, it's about business performance. And with Great Place to Work, I often say the clue is in the name. Great Place to Work, we are about the business. And while we're surveying people, what we're really doing is understanding their alignment and their sentiment towards the success of the business, and through the data, building a stronger business performance by building trust. So above and beyond engagement, we're looking at trust here and building a higher trust culture and linking that to higher performance. So supporting the business throughout. We do this then with credible data and insights. So you can call it HR analytics, organizations looking for credible data through statements that have been tested in a survey process that, the survey is anonymous. It's giving the organization full insight across the demographics, across the managerial levels of the organization, to understand what their people's sentiment looks like and how well they are aligned to the business. Employer branding, I suppose this is an obvious one really in the employer market in Ireland, because I think every sector at the moment has a challenge around attracting top talent and getting the employer brand story out there. So that's something we work a lot with organizations on, and we'll have, events like our employer branding summit to support that further. But through the survey, we're really getting the narrative from people within the organization to say why it is that they really want to work in the organization, what the organization fulfills for them, and get that narrative external to the organization. So once you're certified, it's fantastic to have the certification badge and there to be recognized. But really importantly, it also is the vehicle that allows the organization to say, we are an employer of choice. We've been recognized as such by our people, and here's what it means to us. And then, as Fanny said, around ORS and organizations like that, and Esri Ireland have done a great job in articulating that piece externally. And then in terms of sustainable growth, a stronger business performance to begin with, and then sustaining that. So really understanding, well, what is it that we can do with our people, a really important asset to make them agile, to make them stronger for the business, to get them focused and understand their role within the organization. And that's where we're coming back and we're informing organizations with that information from running through the process. So I just move on to what the process actually looks like in terms of how that works. And the survey is the anchor point of everything we do. It's at the center. Before we launch the survey, the real starting point for you as an organization on your journey is your connection with our client success team. So our client success team are highly experienced. They've been doing this for years, as Fanny said earlier on, with multiple organizations in multiple sectors, sizes. So they're sitting down with you and understanding, well, what does the organization size look like? What's the amount of people in the organization? And then mapping out, importantly, pre-survey communication. So letting everybody in the organization know that the survey is being supported by leadership, really importantly that it's anonymous. And then what we're doing is selecting the survey go live date. So the survey window is held open for 2 weeks. Great Place to Work launched the survey directly from us to your people, and that provides that security in responding. And the survey window is open for 2 weeks. On that call, client success will also capture some brief information about the organization that we can use later when you're certified to profile the organization. So then when the survey is closed, we've captured your data as an organization, and then we in Great Place to Work are in a position to come back to the organization with the data, cut that in multiple ways, measuring trust and then capturing insights across 17 actionable categories that are directly aligned to the business performance. So we're coming back armed with all this information. So what I'd love you to see here is that what we've built now is a process that is not a high resource pull for you, the client. We are doing the heavy lifting around this piece, and we have the methodology set up so that we're able to come back and deliver the data to you with minimal demand for you on your desk. And then stage 4 here, we have recognition. So when we're coming back in the feedback session, then we're able to identify if you've met the threshold. Then we can tell you that you are Great Place to Work certified. And then that gives you opportunity for other recognitions. So that's really the broad headlines and the 4 steps of the process. I'll just move on to a little bit more focus in terms of the actual survey. So in the main body of the survey, importantly, we have a range of statements. So they're short, positively framed statements that are very easy to understand. And this allows people to move through the survey very quickly. So the survey completion time is 10 to 12 minutes, depending on how much time they actually take to write open-ended questions. There's an example here of a statement on the screen. I'm proud to tell others I work here. You might also see my manager keeps me up to date with important information, or my manager makes their expectations clear. All the statements, as I say, are short and positive. And importantly, then people are responding on a scale of 1 to 5. Now, the response for 5 is almost always true, and the response for 4 is often true. So 4 is often, 5 is almost always. And both of those we consider to be a positive score. Both of those are considered to be a high trust response. And I think that's really important around Great Place to Work, that you do not think for a minute that a Great Place to Work is perfect. It's not. What if you see by the responses here, people are responding almost always true. So it's not just specifically about today. It's in general, is this what I see? And as I say, we have some open-ended questions where we're capturing some narrative around why people think it is a great place to work, or what would make it a better place to work, or why would they recommend somebody to come and join the organization. That's really valuable information for us to capture along with the data. So as I say, the survey is the statements and the answering scale of 1 to 5, 4 and 5 being a positive score. So that standard to achieve to be Great Place to Work certified is 65%. So we launched the survey of the people who respond. If we score 65% or above, then you're a Great Place to Work certified. Now, the idea with certified here, and I suppose the benefit and what makes it so popular with a lot of organizations, is timing. Once you achieve the certification standard, you're automatically certified for a rolling 12 months. So if you think about the program is a 3-year program and you're engaging in the program, and it's interesting in our first poll here that 89% of you believe that you are already a great place to work. And that's fantastic because we can jump in, we can set up the survey and get you rolling and hopefully get you certified. Once you're certified, that certification is validated for 12 months. So you could be certified, let's say from June 2025 around to June 2026. And once you're certified, then you're automatically included into consideration for best workplace for women, best workplace for health and well-being. If you're in the tech industry, best workplace in tech, best workplace in hospitality, or the national list for best workplaces in 2026. Now, there's some more of you that believe you are not a great place to work yet, and that's absolutely perfect. And this is why we've designed the program to give organizations time to work towards certification. And I often talk about certification being a safe space where organizations can run the first cycle of the survey without the expectation to achieve certification. And when they don't, that's totally fine because they've positioned it that way with their people. And now we're armed with the information to come back to the organization and say, okay, we can see you're scoring very well in some areas, but there's maybe a discrepancy in others. And then we can help them work towards certification in the next survey cycle. So that's certification, which really opens the door to best workplaces and the other recognitions. Thank you, Fania. So this slide, very efficient on the slide there. So this slide is really just to give you a snapshot of a view around the data and giving the vision of the data back to the organization in a way that is easier to action plan. So we're all about action planning. So when I mentioned the 17 categories, we call them actionable categories because we're all about action planning out of the survey and how can we mobilize that. So we actually have an opportunity with a dashboard which we call Insights, which gives managers and leaders the opportunity to drill down into their information. Depending on the size of the organization, this is more beneficial to see how they can utilize that data and inform the strategy and how well people are actually performing to the strategy as such. And I think that's
Brilliant.
that's me.
Thanks, Brian. So yeah, really kind of broad snapshot there around who we are, what we do, the process. And I can see there are a couple of questions in. So one that came in specifically there, Brian, I think it's just a clarifying question. People can do this at any time that suits them, right? Like we work with them around the business need for timing and that kind of piece.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, a good question. Really flexible in this approach. So we have our call with client success, and then we're agreeing a survey window. So there might be a good time in the year, there might be a rhythm in the business, and then we can launch the survey around that time. In terms of actually responding to the survey, people respond to the survey on a phone, on a laptop, so they can do it whenever they wish. That's absolutely possible.
Yeah, brilliant. And we're kind of aware, and again, we've got good experience of this across different types of organizations, and even kind of different overall departments and that kind of piece, how we frame that up, and also the importance of the communication and the run-in as well, so that we kind of arm the organization with, this is how you talk about great place to work, this is how we frame what's coming, and this is how we equip people to be set up for success, to take part in our process. Another clarifying question was just in around accessibility in languages. And look, I'm very happy to take that. It is auto-enabled into a range of different languages. And usually we've got everyone there that people might need. And again, we can kind of talk to you in our client success kickoff about what your specific needs might be from that point of view. But at last count, I think it's in 18, 19 languages. And usually we kind of have everything covered there. Caroline, you're in the main chat there just around great work, the great place to work, best workplaces for women, as we call it. Caroline, I'm going to just get you to hit pause because this is my passion project and I will go there very shortly in a couple of slides. But I think to echo your point, Brian, there, you come in, you do one survey and you were auto-enrolled into everything. So we will come and ask you for additional pieces if they're needed. But the one survey does get you access into the range of different recognitions. And there are no additional steps unless we specifically ask you to take them. Okay, a question from Miriam. Brian, I might put this over to you. What level of work is involved internally, both initially, so it kind of in that setup piece, and then around kind of the maintaining the standard over, I suppose our 3-year cycle and beyond?
Sure. So as I say, what we've done over the years is really brought this process back as much as possible to deliver a really fine-tuned process for you, the client. So in terms of initial setup, it's that call with client success. And really, I suppose you're talking about an hour of a call. And there are a number of documents shared within that around the employee template. And as I mentioned earlier on, pre-survey communication, which is really, really important. And so there's a bit of population of those documents. I would say you're really looking at about 2 hours. But in terms of actually running the survey, Great Place to Work launched the survey directly from us to your people. So there's no work involved there. We monitor the survey while it's open, and then we're closing the survey and very quickly coming back with results with fresh information to the organization as quickly as possible. That is delivered in a feedback session, an action planning session with the leadership team. And then I suppose what we're doing there is prioritizing the action plan so that we're not trying to rush in and fix everything, but actually prioritize key areas so that the leadership team are supported in that.
Yeah. You get somebody like me coming in, armed with the data, chatting through that with the business. And so the only other layer that I pop in there is a lot of the work that we do at the results session is also identifying what's working really well in the organization. There might be stuff around your career and development investment or stuff that you're doing around ESG or your communications that we will very much say, guys, this is working really well. When we look at it against benchmarks, it's scoring incredibly well. You just keep doing what you're doing, right? Whereas there might be other areas where we're looking at kind of maybe a couple of tweaks here. And the other piece that we do is we support the creation of wider teams as well. So how do you get wider stakeholders involved? How do we get leadership dialed up? How do we make sure HR are equipped to be our ambassadors? And then also how do we ensure that employee up engagement as well? So really kind of enjoy working with businesses to get through all of that. Jen, so what's the minimum number of employees that we need? You are growing. I'm going to reach 10 soon. Brian, do you want to give Jens the good news once we hit 10?
But the good news is 10 is the magic number. So once you achieve 10 people, then you're of a size where we can run and validate the survey for you to be Great Place to Work certified. Once you get to 20 and above, then you're included also into the other best workplace recognitions.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think the last question we'll do for now, Louise, I just see you in the Q&A, and I'm probably best placed to answer this, which is around franchised hotels, and do you look at it as a group or individual hotels? We do a little bit of a mix. It really depends on the makeup and how your company is structured from that point of view. Like when I look at the hotel groups, let's say that were recognised as part of Best Workplaces quite recently, we had the likes of O'Donoghue Ring, Hudson Bay, the Doyle Collection. That's very much, all of the hotels in the group. It's run together. It's one central project. I know the franchise model is slightly different and your ownership models can be slightly different. So Louise, very happy to kind of pick that conversation up with you about how we would best support you and what that would look like to make sure you're getting best from the process. But we've worked with every element of that, right? And be able to support you on that. Okay, I said last one, but there's one last one in, and then we'll keep moving. Amy, so your company is based primarily in Ireland, but we do have location in the US. Brian, does our certification cover both of those?
Absolutely, it does, and many other countries as well. So we've been in about 60 countries, and so what we would do is call Ireland the anchor project, and we can add on the other countries to that. And for simplicity, the certification standard is uniform throughout. So I know we have a link that we might share for an opportunity for you to book a meeting with me. I'm more than happy to get into those finer details with each of the organizations to find out what it is about your organization that you want to focus on, what particular areas, where your employees are, like Amy says here, where they are, and then we can work out the program that best suits you. Thanks for sharing that, Marina.
Great. Thanks, guys. So thanks everybody. Thanks for all the questions. And look, do keep them coming. We'll have a little bit of time at the end as well. But to go back to Caroline's piece and to just do a little bit of a deep dive on a case study and then into our best workplaces for women. So I just wanted to give you kind of an example of what this looks like in reality, because I think when we talk about Great Place to Work, it can seem very abstract, but what does this lead to, and how does this actually support the growth of culture within an organisation? And we're really lucky to be able to work alongside the IRFU. We've been working with them for a number of years, and they're back with us for another 3-year partnership. And Aileen Bailey is our chief people, or is their chief people officer. And there were kind of 2 specific things I wanted to pull out of this example. The first is, I know, Clodagh, you would have sent us a question in beforehand around how our process supports measurement around wellbeing initiatives and what that looks like. And you can see that for the IRFU, wellness is one of their key call-outs and a key part of their, you know, their culture. And they have it built under financial, emotional, physical, and mental. And this has been built in partnership with the people within their organisation, and it is measured through the Great Place to Work survey. So, you know, we're able to support them around, well, how would you look at that? How would we get underneath that? And how would we actually put some metrics around that? And that allows them to keep their finger on the pulse around what's happening and where are they going. And it also allows them to listen to their people. So you see their second point there around their people first culture, elements like right to disconnect, their work with women's aid, their family friendly policy, specifically looking at things like the menopause, has come because of that feedback they've got from the Great Place to Work survey. So, you know, we can look at it from a broad stroke point of view, what's working, but then also in those open questions around what makes it a great place to work and suggestions to make it better, they can get some really, really good qualitative stuff out of that as well. So I just wanted to give you kind of a sense of what that looks like and how you actually take a strong culture, you know, especially given that I think brilliant to say 89% of people think they're already part of a great place to work. So how you take one of those great cultures and continuously improve it and build it over time, and access the kind of the range of recognitions that we do have available. Lots of case studies online, and feel free to go and have a look. From small organizations right the way through to some of our big ones, the likes of Woody's and that kind of piece. So I'd really encourage you to go and have a look, and more than happy to kind of answer any follow-ups after that. That's great, Clodagh. Thanks so much. And then, yeah, so Caroline, Best Workplace for Women. So that was announced for this year last week in conjunction with International Women's Day. And we would have recognised 34 organisations this year as a Best Workplace for Women. Again, there is nothing additional that organisations need to do when they're engaged with us. You are often enrolled into Best Workplace for Women, and we look at a number of key metrics within the business. We look at what's the overall experience women are having, what are our number of women in manager and leadership roles, and what do those percentages look like? And then we look at a number of specific statements around things like career and development, well-being, being treated fairly regardless of my gender, and that gives us that kind of deep dive into what's going on. It is very much a premium recognition for us, and I'd really encourage you guys to download our report. Again, the QR code, and thanks, Marina, I see you've popped the link in for people as well. There are some fantastic interviews with women and men from the organisations about what their experience is, why they're building it, and why this is important to them. And this is an ongoing piece for us in being able to unlock that knowledge and share it across the Great Place to Work community. Because the community piece is really important to us, and is something that we know the organisations who are in the process value, and something that we really want to kind of get across to you guys today is how central that is to the overall experience when you come work with us in Great Place to Work. And we've got Cloudera here, so they're based down in Cork, and Jamie has told me, I think, 20 times what it is that they do, and I'm still not sure that I understand. But I know that one of the things that they can do is their software tells the duty-free shops in airports which products should be at the front of the shelves based on the passengers that are coming in on certain flights for that day. So it's that kind of tracking and cloud software. But they have been a fantastic ambassador for us in the community and hosting a lot of our Munster-based activity. And would say, as you can see here, that they really value that opportunity to see what other people are up to, you know, what's going on in other organisations, where do we need to be ahead of, what are the trends that are coming, and how is it that we can best support our people. So kind of really pleased that Jamie was able to share that with us. And in that spirit, we'd love to invite you all to our masterclass. So we are hosting a masterclass on May 7th in the Johnstown Estate, who themselves are a great place to work. And they were certified this year. And there we're going to be hearing from our best workplaces for women. So what are they doing? We're going to be hearing from our Wellbeing Award winners, DHL, around their work with Elephant in the Room. And then a couple of additional masterclasses and things like financial wellness in movement with Yoga by Mora, and then how we are able to sustain momentum. So that's through our link with ORS and the National Cancer Registry, and then some wider pieces around building the workplaces of the future. So the likes of Codex Banks of Ireland, they're going to give us a sense of that as well. And those days are really for us to be able to come together, to focus on the learning, to pull out what's working well in some organisations. And while we know it's not a copy and paste exercise, that we absolutely encourage stealing with pride, right? So taking that learning and how do we translate it back into our own organisations. So again, I know Marina has popped the link in there. We'd love to see you guys there. And anybody who has any queries on that, you can absolutely feel free to follow up with me afterwards. And we'll be able to look at that. Okay, I think that is us nearly there. If anybody has any more questions, do feel free to drop them in thought. I can see one more qualifying one that's come in. But I know Brian is more than happy to do any follow-up conversations, aren't you, Brian? And
Absolutely.
Anything that we haven't covered today or anything that anybody needs more on. Again, I think it's a clarifying one, Brian, that's come in just around confidentiality, and how is it that we look after that within our process.
Great, thanks. I didn't spot that actually, so thanks for sharing that. This is really, really important to us. So we want people to enter into and complete the survey and feel completely safe in that space. So how that happens and how that works is that the survey is launched from Great Place to Work to each person individually, ideally by email. They fill in their survey response and it comes back to us in Great Place to Work. We then will only share it back with the organization on a level where anonymity and confidentiality are maintained 100%. So there's never ever a risk of anybody being identified. And that's, as I say, that's really, really important for us as an organization, but very important for people responding to the survey, that they can give full, open, honest responses to the survey, and we give them back. So we have what we call suppression levels, which we won't go below in terms of departmental reports or granular reporting, where it could be potential that somebody could be identified. So you can rest assured that that's fully secured.
And all that fun stuff, it's all GDPR compliant, all the data gets de-identified, all of that fun stuff. So we know what we need to be doing in there as well. Great. Well, look, unless anybody has any further questions, and feel free to book a slot with Brian or follow up with either of us. But just thank you all so much for your time this morning, for joining us. Really great to be here. I know some of you have to head off at 10:30, so delighted to be able to hand some time back. And looking forward to welcoming all of you on the Great Place to Work journey with us. We really, really enjoy getting to work in partnership with organisations and celebrate with them too. Thanks to Marina in the background for all the work. And Brian, thanks so much for being a part of it.
Thanks very much. Enjoyed it. Thanks everyone.
Brilliant.
Have a good day.
Everybody.